Hello everyone, this is Mehdi and welcome to another episode of the Subcontinent. Our program aims to address important issues in the subcontinent which affect the governments, people, organizations and the region as a whole. We will try to explain the issues, break down controversies surrounding them and try to have some external perspectives from experts and people.
In this edition of the Subcontinent, we are going to talk about Imam Khomeini and the legacy of Iran's Islamic Revolution across the Asian subcontinent. And we shall take a look at the similarities of anti-imperialist movements under the leadership of Imam Khomeini and Mahatma Gandhi.
Every year in early June, Iranians and many other devotees from all over the world commemorate the death anniversary of Imam Khomeini, the revered founder of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Imam Khomeini is especially admired across the Asian subcontinent for his legacy of fighting for freedom from the imperialist powers in the world. Such a spirit is well known for the people of the subcontinent who rose against the British colonialism under the leadership of another charismatic revolutionary, Mahatma Gandhi.
Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ruhollah Musavi Khomeini, better known as Imam Khomeini, passed away on June 3, 1989, at the age of 87. He devoted many years of his life to standing up to the US-backed Pahlavi dynasty and grew to become the iconic leader of the Iranian nation's struggle in the 1970s against the centuries-old monarchical tyranny. He eventually paved the way for the downfall of the despotic regime in 1979. Every year, mourners from all walks of life converge on Imam Khomeini's mausoleum in southern Tehran to pay homage to the architect of the Islamic Revolution and renew allegiance to the ideals of the 1979 revolution. The Islamic Revolution was a long chain of events that culminated in the overthrow of the Shah of Iran and the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Its cause and message of awakening and resistance has been resonating with Muslims and non-Muslims who are oppressed by corrupt authorities even decades later.
सही बलीग और आलम नूर के धमाके के तौर पर इस्लाम को मुतारिफ करवाया इमाम खुमैनी का आलमी किरदार है जिस बेबसी के आलम में शुरू किया गया था वो तहरीक आलमी शक्ल इख्तियार कर चुकी है.
It was a momentous and epical event in the modern history of Asia and Islam and had enormous social and political impacts across the subcontinent.
He has given the talisman of solidarity to the people of the world. How can we stand with the oppressed communities? And he has shown us that we may have to pay cost of standing with the oppressed, but we should not compromise, and without compromise we should continue raising our voices for the oppressed of the world.
The ideology that was born out of the Islamic Revolution of Iran triggered a process of geopolitical realignment, whose influences remain to this very day. However, this hadn't been new for the people of the subcontinent. Such a revolutionary and rebellious mindset had been the zeitgeist of the people since the British Raj. Similarities between the Iranian social uprising against the despotic Pahlavi regime and the endeavors that ended the British colonialist rule over the subcontinent can be traced back to the spiritual fathers of these movements. Both Imam Khomeini and Gandhi had been uniting beacons of hope for the oppressed people of the globe.
The revolutionary movements led by Imam Khomeini and Bapu Gandhi both started with the ultimate goal of terminating the control of imperialist pawns over their countries. Their vision of independence, based on religion, marked a sea change in political attitudes of world powers towards Asian countries. Both leaders became the icons of war against those who saw themselves as the lords of the world, those who felt entitled to install or remove rulers, assist in assassinations and coups d'etats, and change dynasties and subjugate the public.
Imam Khomeini and Mahatma Gandhi both are very different from other world leaders, as they both have criticized the Western liberal democracies, and they both envisage different kind of democracies to rule in respective countries. Unfortunately, many people, including Mahatma Gandhi, did not succeed in a way what he had envisaged. He didn't see that implementing in the country, the self-rule, the Swaraj. But Imam Khomeini succeeded in challenging the Western liberal democracy, the idea of Western liberal democracy, because it is hegemonic and homogenized. It doesn't allow, it is in a very good package, but it doesn't allow other diversity to flourish. So the different model challenging the governance and the democratic model, the dominant model, is what I think is our leaders' thought, and we have similarities.
Ayatollah Khomeini and Mahatma Gandhi liberated their countries from the evils of Western imperialism and transformed the politics of the region and its relation with the West forever.
Like many other leaders of popular uprisings, Imam Khomeini and Gandhi endured long periods of incarceration or exile, making them champions of grassroots movements that ultimately put an end to the foreigners' rule over their people. Both leaders were known to live a very simple life in a modest house, as they never let the love of power and wealth take over their hearts.
Under the guidance of Imam Khomeini, the Iranian Revolution was inspirational for the world as a promise of freedom, while it created waves of awakening in other countries of the region. It was an ideological revolution and therefore knew no material borders, only spiritual ones. Hence, right from the beginning, Imam Khomeini did not limit the revolution only to Iran. It was not only a call for national unity, but an ideological or global unity against the colonialism of the Western tyrants. The British colonization of India in 1858 precipitated the collapse of the classic Islamic civilization, and by early 20th century, almost the entire Muslim world was colonized by expansionist, oil-hungry European powers. The Ottoman Empire was the last representative of the classic Islamic civilization that collapsed after World War I in 1918. Therefore, the first half of 20th century saw many Muslim nations fight to regain their independence.
Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini का जो विजन था, वो नज़रिया था, अफ्रीकी और इस्लामी था. उन्होंने इस्लाम की बका, इस्लाम की सरबुलंदी के लिए जो नज़रिया वहदत दिया, जो मुसलमानों की यगानगत का पैगाम दिया, उसके असरात और समरात अब दुनिया देख रही है. उनका जो नज़रिया था कि फ़लस्तीन क़िबला अव्वल बैतुल मुक़द्दस मुसलमानों की बाज़ियाबी का कदम होगा, और इसी वजह से उन्होंने यौमुल क़ुद्स को मनाने का आलमी सतह पे जो पैगाम दिया, वो ये सबक है कि मुसलमानान आलम मुत्तहिद हो जाएं, सब मिल के इस्लाम की बका और सरबुलंदी के लिए काम करें. तो मेरा ख़्याल में मुसलमानान आलम आपस में इत्तेहाद इत्तेफाक पैदा करें, एक परवरदिगार की वहदानियत पे कायम रहें, और इस्लाम के आफाकी उसूलों को अपनाते हुए हम आगे बढ़ेंगे तो आयतुल्लाह रूहुल्लाह ख़ुमैनी का जो नज़रिया है उसको पाए तकमील तक पहुँचाने में हम सब का कंट्रीब्यूशन होगा.
Through their patience and wisdom, Gandhi and Khomeini revived the freedom-seeking anti-imperialist mentality in their respective countries. They managed to alter the geopolitics of Asia and the entire global order, while their ideals are bound to inspire revolutionaries for years to come.
In addition to the similar anti-imperialistic spirit that is rooted in the Iranian Revolution and Indian popular uprising, Pakistan and Afghanistan felt the impacts of the establishment of Iran's Shia Muslim government even more because of their close proximity to the epicenter of the revolution. In Pakistan, the news of Iran's revolution was hailed as a victory for Islam, and the press was largely favorable towards the new government. Back then, General Zia-ul-Haq described Imam Khomeini as a symbol of Islamic insurgents. According to analysts, Imam Khomeini's respect and reach in Pakistan was greater than the country's longest-serving head of state, General Zia-ul-Haq himself. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, Islamic political parties and movements kept popping up in almost all Muslim countries because Imam Khomeini proved that a non-secular Islamic model was not just a dream, it was a reality. Like Gandhi, Imam Khomeini proved that it was possible to take on the West, revolt against their collaborating monarchs, and defeat dictators.
रहबर कबीर हज़रत इमाम ख़ुमैनी रहमतुल्लाह अलैह उनकी शुरू की गई तहरीक ईरान तक महदूद नहीं रही। उनकी तहरीक आज हम देखते हैं कि कुर्रा अर्ज़ पर फैल चुकी है। यकीनन जो एक तस्वुर है आलमी क़यादत का, एक आलमी हुकूमत का, वो हमें इमाम ख़ुमैनी की तहरीक से शुरू होता हुआ नज़र आया। गर्चे ये इससे पहले बहुत सारी तहरीकें उठी, इससे पहले बहुत सारे ऐसे अफराद सामने आए, लेकिन जो तहरीक और जो काम इमाम ख़ुमैनी ने रहबर कबीर ने किया, उसके नतीजे में जो तहरीक शुरू हुई, और अब हम देखते हैं कि यमन से लेकर लबनान और अभी हाल ही में गज़ा में जो कुछ हुआ, ठीक है, ये सब चीज़ें एक दूसरे से मरबूत है, और ये सब चीज़ें इमाम ख़ुमैनी की तहरीक के नतीजे में सामने आई।
Now to have more insight, we are joined by Rashid Maqbool, senior journalist. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Maqbool for being on the program, and let's begin by asking, how is Imam Khomeini known across the world, especially the subcontinent, and how much of an influence has he had in India or Pakistan?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak on this show and speak about such a great personality whose life has influenced and continues to influence millions of people across the globe. As far as this question is concerned, the world opinion about Imam Khomeini has always been mixed, and it continues to be mixed. There are people who criticized him then, and criticize him now, and then there are people who loved him then and who love him now, and who followed him then and follow him now. But when we look towards the Europe or America, who is the arch rival of Imam Khomeini's Iran and Imam Khomeini's philosophy, even in that camp in the Western world, we see people who even if they criticize him or disagree with him, but they cannot stop praising him for many different qualities that Imam Khomeini possessed. I am recalled of an interview that Professor Emeritus of Princeton University, Richard Falk, did with Imam Khomeini a day before Imam was supposed to return to Iran. And this interview took place in Paris. Richard has written about it. And in his writing, he says that, the words that he that he has used for Imam Khomeini are actually remarkable. He says that he found Imam Khomeini as a person with active mind and sharp intelligence. And then he says that, he was quite awake to the realities of the world. And also that he was very clear in his mind that what he wants. And then there are so many other academics. I mean, the much celebrated philosopher of West, Foucault, his kind of work on Imam Khomeini or the Iranian Revolution. And there are so many others, the academics and the journalists or the opinion makers in the West also, who again I say, who may disagree with Imam Khomeini's ideas, but they are still found in awe of his personality. So I can tell you that, as we say in English, that love him or hate him, but you can't ignore him. So far as Subcontinent is concerned, it is not hidden from anyone. I mean, anyone can see it with open eyes that Imam Khomeini continues to be a reference point for the people in the Muslim world and in Subcontinent as well.
Do you see any similarities between the father of the Iranian Revolution, Imam Khomeini, and the fathers of the Indian rise to independence from colonialism like Gandhi or Nehru?
Yeah. First, there is this correction that as far as Gandhi is concerned, MK Gandhi, he is officially the father of the nation in India, and is widely accepted as the leader of the freedom struggle in India. But that status has not been accorded to Nehru, although Nehru was one of the important leaders of the freedom struggle of India. So that is one. Second, yes, there are similarities that you can find between Mr. Gandhi and Imam Khomeini, in the sense that Gandhi, when you look at his struggle, which he started, after he came back from South Africa, he also used religion, as a tool for the awakening of the people of India. And he also, through his moral lectures and by invoking religion, he also instilled confidence and hope in the people of India, which prepared them to fight against the imperial powers. And he also, created this whole idea and structure of self-reliance, the Swadeshi movement, the indigenous cultural movement, economic movement, total self-reliance, and in politics also. So in that sense, you can compare. You can see similarities between that methodology of both the leaders. I mean, in the same way you see Imam Khomeini used spirituality and religion to awaken the masses, to instill confidence in them, to raise back the dead hopes of winning over the evil and getting back what is rightfully theirs. So in that sense, yes, you can find the similarity, but it is very important for me to tell you that as far as some of the tragic events of our part of the world are concerned, like partition of India and especially the Kashmir imbroglio.
Thank you, Mr. Maqbool. Now let's take a break and take a look at how the global media has covered this subject.
Arguing that Ruhollah Khomeini was the Gandhi of Iran, this article examines how Americans perceived the Iranian Revolution and shows how many influential individuals failed to understand or acknowledge the true nature of the Shia opposition led by Imam Khomeini. The author finds the answer to these questions in the antipathy that many Americans had for the authoritarian rule for the Shah. Professor Kapil Kumar, who is the chair of the History School of Social Sciences at Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNOU, in New Delhi, says Imam Khomeini went for massive mobilization of people, which was the second example in Asia after Mahatma Gandhi. However, Imam's total call was based on religion, as he was a practicing clergy, and Gandhi did use all religions to unite Indians, but he failed to stop the partition of the Indian subcontinent on the lines of religion. While Imam Khomeini succeeded in Iran, Mahatma Gandhi failed in India. Imam Khomeini and Mahatma Gandhi are among the leaders who used the theory of non-violence in their struggles. The findings of this paper indicate that both Imam Khomeini and Mahatma Gandhi believed in non-violence and applied this method in their struggles. It also says the idea of non-violence has its roots in the religious teachings the two leaders followed, and the anthropology of both the leaders, despite stemming from different fundamentals.
And one last question, Mr. Maqbool, for you. What is Imam Khomeini and the Iranian Revolution associated with?
It is associated with many things. Like, as I said, and I repeat, and it's very important, that it is associated with the feeling and with the conviction that you can stand up to the arrogant powers and you can win also. And it is associated with this belief that you can create your own path and you can stand for your conviction. And then it is most importantly, it is associated with the most important thing, trust in Allah, the unshakable faith in the Creator, and spiritually guided and aided movement is the best way to seek rights and get justice. That's what it stands for. And it is associated with hope for humanity. Humanity, I say, and especially for the Muslim world, it stands and it is associated with a hope for better future, for honorable and dignified life, and taking control of your own affairs. That's what it is associated with. The honor that people have lost, the dignity that people have lost. So it is associated with the greatest value of humanity and Islam and Quran, which is ghairat. It tells me, I mean, how it touched me. I tell you that I consider myself very lucky, and I thank Allah for this, that I'm an 80s born person, that I shared this time and space with that great personality, you know, for some little time, in the sense that I was also breathing in this world when he was around somewhere in Iran.
There you have it, Mr. Maqbool, senior journalist from Kashmir. Thank you for your precious time, sir. Now let's see how the people have reacted on social media and cyberspace.
Saim Raza has expressed his respect and admiration for both leaders, noting that such icons never truly die. Hasnain Hosseini says Imam Khomeini's ideals for an Islamic society should be actualized in Muslim countries, noting that such guidelines can solve all the problems that Pakistan is facing. Moeed Pirzada has extolled Imam Khomeini's political visions for their lasting power throughout the global political system, even decades after his demise.
And that was our special episode for the death anniversary of the great leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution and his impacts and connections to the freedom-seeking movements across the subcontinent. For more subcontinental updates, follow us on social media platforms, and don't forget to give us your feedback, and we will make sure your voice is heard. Thank you for watching. We shall meet again, same time, same day next week. So till then, take care.